Hello and welcome to Game Week 24 of the Premier League, coming to you live from the Stakehouse. I'm Conor McCabe. I'm joined by the data dictator, Lucas Dazinski. How are we doing, Lucas?
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to this weekend of football. Slightly annoyed that there's a FA Cup weekend, but
In between, at least the FA
again,
Cup
yeah,
starts to look a little bit more business-like at fourth round stage. We know who's interested in it and so
yeah.
on and so forth. However, we're talking Premier League right now. There's 10 cracking games to get our teeth into. So, in true Steakhouse fashion, let's dive right into that meal. Forest versus Brighton is up first
Forest.
for us.
I did say last week, right? I said Forest are overachieving massively. They're currently third, but on expected points, they're about ninth, something like that. So it was that run was going to come to an end, and Bournemouth just completely smashed them. Right, very clinical. Bournemouth looking really good, but I think it's going to be a tough challenge for them. See how they bounce back. Saying that, Brighton haven't exactly been consistent. There have been games where they played well, games where they didn't play well. If you look at expected points, these teams are pretty much level. So I think like it's going to be quite a close game. I'd say probably going to be a draw. I think stuff's going to turn around now, and I don't think Forest are going to be winning these one nil games, 2-0 games, whatever they've been doing.
Yep, no, couldn't agree more. Actually, if you look at the XG against Bournemouth, it didn't. The result didn't tell the whole
Yeah,
story. I mean, they conceded five Forest, but the XG was only done at 1.66. So
yeah,
they were a bit unlucky to run into an absolutely steamroller Bournemouth side. I think the one thing though is that in that Forest camp, you're overachieving, right? You know that you're not supposed to be in second place in the Premier League, and you're kind of waiting for this to happen and subconsciously somewhere expecting it to happen. I think they might have expected to lose a game or two, but what I don't think they'll have expected was to lose 1-5-0, right? To somebody like Bournemouth. And even though XG wise they were a bit unlucky, there's no doubt that confidence has to be affected by that
yeah,
result.
yeah.
It has to be. And when confidence is affected, the one team that you don't want to run into is Brighton. Like, Brighton are a dangerous side. I think personally they're a better side away from home. And I think they can pile on the misery for Forest here. It's not an official tip, but if you had to push me to lean one way, I can see Brighton taking the points here. I've tipped up a 2-1 away.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, I'd say same again, not official, but what you can do is instead of straight win, you can go zero and Asian handicap. So basically, that means if Brighton win, you win. Obviously, if there's a draw, you get your money back, and that's 2.09. So if you're going to do it that way, I think that's probably a go up.
Or if you fancy doing some real money, just go for them on the nose. But now both of them are optimal
Yeah,
strategies. And safety first can never hurt anybody. But either way, whatever way you choose to get Brighton on side, if you are having a punt in this game, that's where our advice falls. Bournemouth play Liverpool. Now, are Bournemouth, forget pound for pound, forget player for player, forget all of that stuff. Right now, on the one metric alone, are Bournemouth the best team in the Premier League?
what metric do you mean?
In terms of just overall best. If you were trying to, if you had to
No,
pick one
I don't. I
team,
mean, I still think Liverpool probably the best team, perhaps.
you added a little caveat there, didn't you? You had the word
Perhaps, yeah. I
perhaps.
mean, yeah, you can't say this moment, yeah, but if they beat Liverpool or they get like a result here, get a draw or something like that, play a good game, then I think there's an argument for that.
Could
Bear in mind,
Liverpool,
Bournemouth have had a lot of injuries, right, and they're still performing to like a really good level.
could Liverpool have gone up to Newcastle and smashed Newcastle 4-1 in that manner? Could Liverpool have beaten Forest 5-0? To have an aggregate scoreline of 9-1 against two teams bang in form in the way that Newcastle and Nottingham Forest
Yeah,
were.
but like you got to think about the team they are and the team they're playing, right? Liverpool would often not smash teams up that much because the other team's going to set to play on the counter attack, right? So it's harder to break it down.
Yep.
Whereas Bournemouth comes to them, they're like, okay, you know what? We're just going to play on normal strategy. So that kind of needs to factor into play as well.
I think you can definitely make that argument for the Newcastle game. I think Forest did sit in a little bit more against Bournemouth, but ultimately, either way, they're playing unbelievably well, and Iraola just deserves so much credit.
Yeah.
Having said all of that, I mean, we're making these points, but we're actually going the other way, both of us, in terms of the betting angles for this game, because I know you're going to tip up Bournemouth in a minute. I just think that the standard that Bournemouth have now is so high, people are actually expecting them to come into this game and deliver. And I just think it might be a bridge too far for them. So I actually think Liverpool, not an official tip or anything, but my gut feeling is that Liverpool might nick it.
Are you doing what I used to do on the fence? If you've got
No. I'm saying Liverpool win this game. I'm saying.
So
Liverpool.
why don't you make it an official bet then?
Because if I did that, I'd have 10 official bets every single week, and I can't be sure that every single one of them's value. That's why not. I'm just saying that in terms of the way that I see it, I think it's just one step too far. But you have got an official bet, so let's get into that.
Yeah, look, I think Bournemouth are a really good team. I think where they are on the table, they should be higher. On expected points, they actually should be third, but they're seventh at the moment. I was a bit wary of them a few weeks ago because they had a few injuries, but they've been playing really well. Obviously, that Forest game was, I'd say, a bit of a test, a smaller test for them, and they passed it really well with flying colours. We're recording this on Tuesday night, so this is the day before Liverpool play in the Champions League. However, a lot of their players haven't travelled, so the likes of Trent, Van Dijk, Konate, Diaz, Salah, all of them haven't travelled, so they're obviously being rested for this game. So at first I thought, Bournemouth might have an extra bit of advantage for a bit more time. But either way, I think the Bournemouth price is just, too high. I think there's value in it. So I'm backing Bournemouth plus 0.75 on Asian handicap. You can get 2.02 around that at the moment. I actually got on the market early in the week at 1.95, so it's drifted a little bit. I'd imagine it to come in further in the week. But yeah, I think it's a good bet. Basically, what we need is a draw. If Liverpool beat them by 1 goal, we get half the money back, so a bit of assurance. Either way, it's going to be a tight game. I think Bournemouth can do the business here, get a draw, maybe win. But either way, they're not going to get smashed by 2 more goals. I can't see that. If they're going to lose, it's going to be a tight game. So that's why it's good to have that bit of insurance.
Absolutely. And if you are backing on the Asian handicap, you'll notice that with some bookies, it's listed as plus 0.75. Yeah. Others, it's not. It's listed as plus 0.5 and plus 1.0.
Yeah.
Because 0.75 is in the middle. It's a weird way of listing, but it's like how some of them like to. I always recommend a Betfair exchange for at least playing around with this, because by inputting the numbers in, even without making the bet, you get to see exactly what result happens with each permutation. So if the result is one way, you win this, and another way you lose this, and so on. The advantage for using the Asian handicap is because even if you're slightly off, you still can get rewarded in some way, right? As opposed to just
it reduces the risk.
Exactly, reduces the risk. Yeah. Okay, so moving on, we've got Everton versus Leicester as the next game. I mean, credit where it's due. David Moyes' impact since he's come in at Everton has been really strong, right?
Yeah, he's been in charge for 3 games now. Before the pod, we were talking about actually. I didn't realise it's actually 3 games. I thought it was only 2, but there you go. But yeah, he's got some good results. Look, he knows everyone there, right? Backroom staff, there's actually just probably the same people knocking around. I feel like they needed a bit of a change, right? So, I mean, saying that, they're playing against Leicester. I mean, at home, Everton should be winning this. I got Everton as 0.87 goals better, so I expect Everton to win this. But no official bet for me. I think the market's more or less the same. Everton to wins 1.77. Like, yeah, I think there's not much value there.
Fair. I mean, that's the data viewpoint. So it's always good to know, even if we don't make it official tips, it's a good guide for punters who are adding things to their accumulators and things like this. I think, yeah, Moyes. I mean, they lost 1-0 at Villa, perhaps a little bit unlucky in his first game. They beat Spurs, and they deserve to beat Spurs, and they beat Brighton away, and they deserve to beat Brighton away.
Beat a Spurs side that everyone's smashing though, right? So
this is true, but Brighton away is no mean feat, right? And ultimately, what Moyes has done is he's got Everton scoring again. By the way, they weren't scoring 3 goals under Dyche anytime soon, right? So ultimately, he deserves credit for that. He's got them playing a more style that Evertonians are comfortable with, and they're getting results. In terms of Leicester and Ruud van Nistelrooy, we've hit him quite hard on this pod, so it's definitely fair to acknowledge that, you know, they've been through the mill. 7 games in a row, 7 defeats. I know it's Tottenham who everyone is smashing, but still, to go there and get the win, particularly after falling behind, speaks volumes about their spirit in the dressing room. So it's just a little shout out to Leicester in terms of one I think they deserve. In terms of this game, I agree with you. I think that Everton will win this game now. I think it'll be goals. I think I've got 3-2 down as my predicted result for this one. So there you have it. But no official tip from me either. We move on to Ipswich versus Southampton. What are your thoughts?
I mean, this is going to be a proper relegation scrap, right? Well, if you even want to call Southampton in the relegation scrap, I think they're pretty much gone. So Ipswich really need to win this. It's like a 6-pointer for them, right? If they win this, they can hope to stay up, right? It's a massive game. Don't have a bet on this, but I can see there being goals, a lot of them. So, you know, if anyone wanted to have a punt, I'll probably go on the overs. Over 2.5 goals is even, so I think that's
okay. I mean, I see it slightly differently. I think that if you look at Ipswich, they've lost their last 3 Premier League games by an aggregate score of 12-1, right? The Southampton aren't winning any games either, but Southampton are competing. They should have beaten United at Old Trafford. They were unlucky not to. They gave Newcastle a really good run. They took the lead there. They're unlucky not to make it 3-2, but for a VAR decision. It feels like Southampton are being a little bit more competitive at the moment.
okay.
As you say, Southampton have got a little bit less to lose because their situation is so much more precarious. I like the way the owners come out and said as well that this manager is going to remain in place no matter what division they're in next year. I think that massively takes the pressure off. And I think with Ipswich, there's just going to be an edgy feel around Portman Road.
A lot of pressure, I guess, right?
We've got to win this is going to be the mantra. And if they don't go up in the first 15, if they go up in the first 15-20, they probably go on and win comfortably. But if they don't, then I think Southampton could nick it. And I think that they're worth chancing. To have Ipswich odds on for this game is, I think, a little bit too skewed in their favour. I mean, how can they be odds on with the form they're in? I don't like it. And I think you can get 4.1 on a Southampton win. Do I think it's definitely going to happen? No. But do I think the price is a little bit too high on that? Yes. So this is my first official.
Well, I think the price is about right, but there you go.
There you go. But yeah, ultimately 4.1 on an away win here. Southampton have got pace on the break as well. The boy Suleimani, when he plays, hopefully he starts this game for them. But I think that these teams are pretty evenly matched. I just think Southampton at the moment are more competitive. Ipswich need to win more. I think more pressure's on them at home. Back the away win, 4.1.
Right, we'll see.
All right, Newcastle versus Fulham. Are Fulham starting to enter into a little bit of a drop-off period?
I mean, obviously I was, both disappointed. Well, I'd Fulham 0 in Asia handicap against United. They were pretty unfortunate to lose that. If you look at XG, it was 0.67 to 0.25. Look, they didn't create much, but they didn't concede much. The goal they conceded was just, I mean, it was the luckiest goal ever, right?
Yeah.
Like, massive deflection, looping over Leno. Leno even got a hand to it, so nearly got to it. Saying that, they should have really probably won that game. But you've got to look at the positives, right? They didn't get 3 points. That means Brentford have a slightly better chance of finishing above them to close them down. Saying this, I think I don't have a bet on this, but I've got Newcastle as 0.85 goals better. So, yeah, I don't think there's too much value. But according to my numbers, I feel like Newcastle should win this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't disagree with what you say about Fulham, but take the goal. Obviously, the goal was just complete luck, right?
Yeah.
And probably they were a bit unlucky to lose the game, sure. But the main point about it is just a dismal game of football, right? Like, it was tough watching.
Yeah.
And Fulham played their part in that, right? Yes, United are terrible at the moment. We all know that, right? But Fulham were really poor, considering how strong they've been all season. And they didn't really cause United any problems. The usual zip that they play with just wasn't there. And that's got me thinking they've not rotated that much. And that's why that performance has, when we're looking for fine margins in this game, which we all are, this performance has just left me wondering whether they are entering that period. With Newcastle, I think they'll win this one quite easily. I've got 3-0 written down, which is maybe a bit extreme, but I fancy a home win.
He's that captain then for fantasy.
That's the plan. Yeah. It's about time he owes me. Wolves versus Villa. Any thoughts?
I'll let you go first on that.
Yeah, it's not an official tip, but I do feel quite strongly about this one. I think Wolves will win the game. Villa, after European nights and even upcoming, their performances just fall off a cliff. And ultimately, they don't quite have the squad to balance Europe and Premier League at the moment. It's just the way it is. Unai Emery is a top-class manager, but everybody knows he will favour Europe, right? It just is the way it is. And one of two things is going to happen in Europe this week. They're either going to beat Celtic and they're going to go through, and they're going to be, on a high, and kind of the adrenaline's going to be going through them, and it's going to kind of be a bit of a leaky air balloon this game. Or they're going to lose to Celtic and they're going to go out, in which case they're going to be a bit flat. And meanwhile, Wolves will be at home, working hard on the training ground, ready for this game. And I think that the new manager, Pereira's got them playing pretty well overall. Their XG is stacking up in favour. So I can see 2-1 Wolves in this one. Not an official tip, but I do feel quite strongly that Wolves should win this game.
Okay, cool. Should we move on?
Yep. On to my second official tip here. It's your boys, Brentford versus Spurs. Have you got anything on this one?
Well, you got an official tip, so I'll let you go first.
I'll lead the way. Okay, sure. My Brentford theory, obviously, you can't continue to perform that well at home and that badly away. At some point, variance is going to play a role, and performances at home are going to drop off slightly, and performances away are going to improve, right? However, this is not the game where this is going to happen. So just
I was wondering where this is going. Bloody hell.
Just discard that theory, right? They're playing a team right now who have got a manager that cannot do anything right. If you look back to history, the most successful Premier League manager, right, was one game away from getting sacked in 1989 or whatever it was, when he had to win the the FA Cup to save his job. That man was Alex Ferguson, and he went on to have the most incredible career at United, and obviously the decision to keep him on at the lowest possible moment was the correct one. However, if you try and pinpoint managers in the same sort of situation since, there's very, very few. Once you're on the brink, you go over. You're going over. There is no world, no matter what Ange Postecoglou does in the next few weeks, and it's not necessarily his fault, but there is no world where he turns this round and stays on as Spurs manager for years to come. It's just not going to happen. So get rid of him now. It's the only way. It's the right way. And ultimately, he's not helping himself with his tactics and the way he's setting his teams up. He's obviously unlucky with injuries.
Yeah.
But it's just, right now, he's a dead man walking, right? And the last place you want to go when you're a dead man walking is Brentford. I'm thinking Eric Ten Hag's second game in charge at Man United when Brentford ripped them a new one.
That was first.
Second. That was the second game of the season. We
No,
lost.
that was the first. No, pretty sure that was the first home
You're
game.
wrong. Go and check your stats, data boy. But In terms of this game,
Sure, is there?
Brentford can put them to the sword. This could be a hammering. Brentford have scored 3 times, 4 times, multiple occasions this season. They're going to do the same again. This is going to finish 4-0, 4-1, that sort of result for Brentford. So get all over Brentford to score over 2.5 goals. The price at the moment is 2.75. That's an official tip. That's one for your accas. That's one for your single bets. So Brentford to score over 2.5 goals. I think they'll win the game as well. I think my prediction, as I say, is 4-1. But Brentford, Vissa, Mbuemo, Shade, who's on fire, Lewis Potter, there's just so much there to hurt Spurs. They love it at the G-Tech. And very confident on this tip.
Yeah, look, the market's predicting a lot of goals here. They're over an underline on a goals is 3.5, so it's massive. Yeah, I don't have a bet on this, but look, like this is the best time to play Tottenham, right? For like Brentford need to win this at home. Obviously, Tottenham need a result, but I saw that it was I think Romero or Porro's back and what's his name?
Van der Ven.
Yeah, Van der Ven's back in training, but they're going to Elfsborg on Thursday, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, apparently they only have 8 players over the age of 18 fit. They're going there on Thursday. The team's already stretched. Like, who are they going to play?
Yep.
And then 2 days later, they come to Brentford, right? Brentford have had a fantastic result away at Palace and a whole week to rest. So, yeah, I think Brentford should win this, but...
Are you saying you like my tip? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for once, yeah. I mean, you're back in the bees. Why shouldn't I like your tip?
How can you not like it, for sure? All right, United versus Palace.
Look, I still don't think United are playing well. Palace, I was a bit underwhelmed a bit by them when Brentford
I was going to
played.
say, you saw them live. How were they?
Yeah, I thought they didn't create that many chances, to be honest. The game was pretty... I mean, first of all, the weather was horrendous. It was pissing it down all day. Throughout the game, it was raining. Maybe that had an impact. But, yeah, it seems like they've been playing quite well the last few weeks, getting back into the rhythm of things. So, I don't know. I can't see Palace winning this. I don't really have a bet. I think it'll be a close game. Maybe like a draw, like a 1-1, something like that.
Okay, I can see Palace winning it.
Okay.
In terms of United at the moment, I mean, they were lucky against Fulham, right? Amarin knows it's still a work in progress. There's a lot of work to be done. Ultimately, these aren't his players, right? So until we get moving on the recruitment side, when we possibly can, and right now we have to sell to buy, right? So ultimately, or very close to it. So it's going to be such a long process. Nothing's going to turn around anytime soon. So it's going to be feel good one week, feel bad the next. It's just a long, inconsistent road ahead. But Amarin hit the nail on the head when he said that United were playing with fear at Old Trafford. That is 100% the case. And that's why the record at Old Trafford is absolutely shambolic. They could have drawn with Rangers, but for a last-minute miracle. The only team they've beaten is Southampton, and they didn't really deserve to beat them.
Yeah.
Right? Things are really, really bad. And I just don't see how you can back United here for this one. With Palace, the price on them is 3.95, so just short of 3-1 on an away win. Again, Palace generally have been in very good form. I really rate Glasner. You've got John Philippe coming back into form. There's just lots to really like about them. And I think that Palace at 3.95 are just too big to go to Old Trafford and win. They really are. So that is the third leg of my my acca, and that's my third tip. We'll talk about it at the end, but yeah, effectively get on Palace to win at Old Trafford because it's value for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably not go for the straight win. I'd probably go Asian handicap plus a half at 1.881. So they just need to draw and you win your bet.
Yep,
That's
100%.
just me.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Absolutely nothing wrong with that shot as well. And when it ends a draw, I'll probably be wishing that I'd done it. Let's talk about the biggest game of the weekend. It's Arsenal Man City. Are Man City back?
I don't know, to be honest. They looked really wobbly against Chelsea at the beginning, but I feel like Chelsea scored and then nearly scored again first 5-10 minutes, but then after that they just kind of, I don't know, they kind of almost like stopped playing. It was really weird, and that let City get back into it. So I wouldn't, it wasn't really like a 3-1 comfortable win. I'd say the XG was quite tight anyway. It was a difference of 0.25, so 2.05 to 1.8. So it was still a tight game. I think it was more like Chelsea having a bit of a bad game management than City. But then again, look, it's City, right? Again, we're recording this on Tuesday. Like, they got Champions League tomorrow on a Wednesday. They have to win that game. They have to. So they're going to be going all out. They're not going to be resting any players. Whereas Arsenal, they can probably rest a few players. I know Odegaard's back in training, Marino as well. So I think Arsenal could win this. And I'm going to play them on the Asian handicap -1/4. So the price has been moving quite a bit last few days, but at the moment you can get 1.82 on 365. I'd imagine it's going to shorten. Barring no injuries tomorrow, obviously. I think Arsenal edge this.
Yep, and I agree with you. I think that the Arsenal win this one. So -1/4, -0.25. Again, could be listed as 0.0 to -0.5, -0.5, and obviously it's that selection. That's another good
To
tip.
confirm what that means is basically if it's a draw, you get half your money back. So, a bit of assurance if it is a tight game and they can't, they don't get enough set pieces to win the game, right?
Fair point. Okay. Last of all, we've got Chelsea versus West Ham. Now, I thought that your critique on Chelsea in that last analysis was pretty polite. I mean, I don't really know what's happened to them. They've fallen off a cliff, right? They've got 6 points in 21. We really praised the way that Enzo Maresca started there and how well he took to the Premier League. And considering the size of the squad that Chelsea have, they should be able to cope with this period better than most. But they just, they're really not at it. Against City, their strategy was all over the place. To be playing such a high line against the pace and strength of Haaland was crazy. They were just asking to get beat. And it was no real surprise that it happened. And I thought that the win owed more to that than to City being actually good, which is again why I quite like your Arsenal tip. And this is a dangerous game for them. West Ham weren't that bad at Villa, right? My long shot almost came home there.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think that Potter's doing an okay job at West Ham. Another week under his belt here before this one. What I would say is Lucas Paqueta is central to absolutely everything West Ham do. Potter is playing him higher, sometimes as in the kind of false nine role. And, don't be afraid to get him inside in terms of shots and goals while the bookies adjust to this. I personally think that it's not an official tip, but I actually can see West Ham winning again. Not winning again, but I'm going to put them up to win as my suggestion. Yeah, I think again like 2-1 West Ham or something really wouldn't surprise me. It's not an official tip, but I think that you can't be getting on Chelsea at odds on here. I don't think you can. I think that'd be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they are really short. If you are going to back West Ham, go again Asian handicap. You can get plus 1.5, 1.86. So all you need to do.
And where's the line?
1.5. So basically, if West Ham lose by 1, you win your bet. So you're basically just banking on West Ham not getting dicked on.
I actually think that's a really good shout to play the Asian handicap at plus 1.5. I think that's what's that? Close to even money, right?
1.86.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet. Let's be all over that. Maybe should have tipped it officially. Let's see. Anyway, let's do a quick recap. So what are your two bets? You've got
I got Bournemouth plus 3/4. So plus, yeah. So like you said, it's either going to be plus 3/4 or plus a half, +1, or yeah. And then the other one's Arsenal against City.
If anybody
Arsenal
confused
minus
on the Asian handicap, you've just got more confused.
-1/4. So that's going to be 0 or -5.
Great.
-0.5.
And again, if you want to combine them, win a little bit more money off Lucas's tips, you can probably combine them for a rough price of around 4.0, something like that.
Yeah, slightly less than that, but yeah.
Slightly less, okay. For me, I have got just the 3 tips this week. So tip number 1 is Southampton to win away at Ipswich at 4.1. I've got Brentford to score over 2.5 goals
Banker.
against
Probably on that.
Spurs. Yeah, I'll call that my nap. Why not? Which is 2.75. And I have got Palace to win away at United, to win at Old Trafford, which is 3.95. You can combine my 3 selections for 39 to 1 if for those of you that are looking to win a little bigger, or play them as doubles where you've got 3 different bets. Also another nice option with potentially bigger returns. And that's all we've got. So here we go. Let's look forward to a couple of big nights of European football and more football at the weekend. It doesn't stop, does it?
Yeah, won't be recording next week, obviously, because of the FA Cup. So yeah, we'll be back week after that.
Yeah, wish you luck. Go easy on that one. Something that me and you probably should have done at Brentford, but the less said about that, the better. Thanks for listening. We'll speak soon.
Cheers, bye.